Look at your favorite anime crew right now. Any anime. Pick one. Usually you have the loud guy in the front, the smart one in the back, and a heavy hitter standing off to the side, looking cool. We all know the formula. But every now and then, a writer creates a massive problem for themselves. They build a secondary character so structurally heavy that the entire story starts tilting in their direction. You're sitting there watching an episode. Maybe it's a fight scene. Maybe they're just sitting on a boat. And suddenly it hits you like a truck. You look at this guy and realize he shouldn't be standing in the background. This guy is carrying the whole show on his back. Listen to your old man for a second. I've seen a lot of stories come and go. And I can tell you right now that Roronoa Zoro is not a sidekick. He's not just the muscle, he's a protagonist on standby. And the craziest part about all of this? His massive presence doesn't take a single thing away from Luffy. If anything, it proves that Eiichiro Oda is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Now hold on. Before you start typing angry comments about how I'm just playing favorites, take a breath. This isn't about who has the coolest swords, or who gets the best fight animations. This is about pure narrative engineering. It's about the gears running under the hood of the story. By the time we finish this conversation, you're going to look at the Straw Hats completely differently. Let's talk about what actually makes a main character. The textbook answer is simple. It's the guy the camera follows. The guy whose dream moves the plot forward. Luffy wants to be the pirate king. Boom, we have a story. But true protagonism is way heavier than just being the center of attention. In a battle shonen, a main character needs a specific blueprint. They need an impossible goal. They need a moral compass made of solid iron. They need moments where that compass gets dragged through the mud. And most importantly, they need a very complicated relationship with the concept of power, because power isn't just punching harder. It's the brutal weight of responsibility. It's the things you have to give up to keep your friends safe. Now look at the green-haired, directionally challenged menace. Look at Zoro's blueprint. From the absolute second we meet him, tied to a post, starving to death in a marine base, he radiates this overwhelming aura of absolute stubbornness. He doesn't feel like a guy waiting to be rescued. He feels like a guy who just temporarily paused his own show. Luffy is chasing the Pirate King title. Zoro is chasing the title of the world's strongest swordsman. Bro, think about what that actually means in this universe. He's not trying to win a local tournament. He's not trying to get a gold medal. He's trying to climb a mountain made of monsters. He has to eventually look Dracula Mihawk in the eye, a goth vampire who casually slices battleships in half because he was bored on a Tuesday. And Zoro has to beat him. That's his baseline requirement. That alone is an entire anime series. You could pitch that to a studio right now and get 24 episodes greenlit. But instead of getting his own show, he's riding shotgun on a pirate ship that attracts chaos like a magnet. That is classic hero's journey material, disguised as a supporting role. Have you ever actually watched Zoro make a decision? I mean really watched him. It gives you chills. He doesn't sit around weighing his options. He doesn't have internal monologues about what's fair. He just moves. He carries the weight of his choices like a guy who's been doing hard labor his whole life. It's visceral. It makes you forget who the actual captain is sometimes. Let's break down how teams usually work in anime. You usually have the heart of the team, the loud protagonist who believes in everyone. And then you have the mentor, the older guy who actually knows how the world works. Goku had Master Roshi. Naruto had Kakashi. Tanjiro had Urokodaki. It's a formula that pays the bills. The kid makes mistakes. The veteran bails him out and teaches a lesson. But Oda looked at that formula and threw it in the trash. He took those two roles and smashed them together. Luffy is the heart, but Zoro is the spine. And he's not an old, wise master. He's a peer. He's walking the exact same muddy road as Luffy, but his job in the narrative is completely different. Let's talk about Thriller Bark. Because we can't have this conversation without talking about the human raid boss Bartholomew Kuma. Everybody is on the floor. The crew is cooked. Kuma looks at them and basically says, "Give me Luffy, and you all live." Who steps up? Zoro. But pay close attention to how he does it. He doesn't scream. He doesn't throw a tantrum. He treats it like a business transaction. He negotiates his own execution. He literally states that if he can't protect his captain's dream, his own dream is garbage. My guy. That is not the dialogue of a sidekick. That is the ultimate dilemma of a main character. And then we get the aftermath. Sanji wakes up. He finds the walking blender standing in a literal crater of his own blood. The guy is destroyed. He looks like he went through an industrial meat grinder. Sanji asks him what happened, and Zoro just drops the coldest line in anime history. Nothing happened. No big speech. No bragging. No unlocking a secret power of friendship form. Just a man paying a massive bill in silence because someone had to pay it. Try to name 5 secondary characters in any show who have a moment with that much narrative gravity. You can't do it. Most writers wouldn't waste a moment like that on anyone but the main star. Now let's look at how he handles power. In a normal story, the hero starts out as a complete weakling. Luffy fits this perfectly. He was a kid in a barrel who didn't know how to punch without stretching into a wall. We watch him grind for years to learn haki and unlock gears. But Zoro? Zoro was already a neighborhood terror on day 1. He was already strong. When a character starts out strong, you can't just give them bigger muscles. Their growth has to be mental. Every fight Zoro gets into isn't just about cutting steel or fighting stronger bad guys. It's a philosophical debate with swords. It's about finding out what strength actually costs. It's about discipline. Think back to the Baratie. That absolute humiliation against Mihawk. Zoro gets dismantled. He gets exposed completely. But instead of crying in a corner, he turns his bleeding chest to the sky. He looks at his captain, and he promises he will never lose again. From that exact second, his entire life is held hostage by that promise. He's not fighting to show off. He's fighting because he gave his word. And let me tell you something about giving your word. When you look someone in the eye and make a promise like that, you have to wake up every single day and prove it wasn't just hot air. That kind of pressure would break most people, but he wears it like a comfortable jacket. That is the core of a protagonist, carrying the weight of not being allowed to fail. Let's talk about crew dynamics. Luffy is pure, unfiltered willpower. He doesn't plan. He just picks a direction and launches himself like a missile. That only works because the people around him manage the fallout. Nami reads the maps. Usopp brings the caution. Sanji feeds them. But Zoro? Zoro provides the conviction. Whenever the crew is paralyzed by a hard choice, whenever everyone is panicking, Zoro takes out his swords and cuts the hesitation in half. He acts. And it's not because he's a meathead who doesn't understand the stakes. It's because he has absolute moral clarity. Look at Water 7. The crew is falling apart. Usopp walks away. Luffy is breaking down inside. Nami is in tears. Chopper is having a panic attack. The whole family is shattering. And who is the only adult in the room? Zoro. He lays down the law. He tells them straight up. If Usopp wants to come back, he has to apologize. He has to respect the flag. It sounds harsh. It breaks everyone's heart even more. But it was the exact right thing to do. Zoro understands something that nobody else wanted to admit at that moment. Being a captain isn't about being everyone's best buddy. It's about authority and responsibility. If Luffy lets people walk all over his decisions, he loses the right to lead them into war. Zoro practically grabs the steering wheel of the narrative right there. He forces the main character to act like a main character. He forces Luffy to grow up. How many times in your life have you had to be the bad guy just to keep things from falling apart? When everyone else is crying, someone has to lock the doors and turn off the lights. That's what Zoro does. Here is a wild detail that flies completely under the radar. Zoro is the only person on that ship who has never doubted his own dream. Not once. Think about the others. Nami was ready to surrender at Arlong Park. Usopp tapped out in Water 7. Sanji tried to throw his life away in Whole Cake Island. Robin literally wanted to die at Eni's lobby. Chopper constantly questioned if he was just a monster. Even Brook spent 50 years in the dark wondering if there was any point in surviving. But the green-haired swordsman, never. From the minute he made that promise to Quina, he hasn't hesitated for a single frame of animation. It's honestly terrifying. It borders on psychotic behavior, and people look at that and say he's one-dimensional. They say he's just the tough guy archetype. Are you kidding me? Since when is absolute, unbreakable conviction boring? Doubt is not the only way to write a deep character. Having conviction is easy when things are going well, but Zoro's conviction constantly demands a blood sacrifice. Every time he gets back up with broken bones. Every time he swallows his pride. Every time he puts Luffy's dream in front of his own. He is paying the tax on that conviction. We see it in the massive scars across his chest and eyes. We see it in the way he sleeps constantly just to recover from the brutal toll he puts on his body. He doesn't complain. He doesn't give a speech about how hard his life is. He just does the work. That is exactly what a true protagonist does. They live the sacrifice instead of talking about it. And that leads me to the most important point of all. The respect. Everyone on that ship loves the rubber kid. They treat Luffy like a brother, like a best friend, like family. And that's beautiful, but Zoro is different. Zoro treats him like a captain, with a capital C. That changes the entire dynamic. The rest of the crew will yell at Luffy. They'll hit him. They'll question his crazy ideas. But Zoro fundamentally understands the chain of command. He knows that if the captain's authority cracks, the whole crew sinks. So he actively protects that authority. He never lets the crew forget who is in charge. He never lets the enemies disrespect the hat. It's not blind loyalty, it's structural awareness. He knows a ship needs a center of gravity. And look at the sheer maturity it takes to do that. Zoro purposely steps out of the spotlight to make sure Luffy stays in it. He has the power, the drive, and the sheer presence to demand the center stage. He could be a rival. He could be competing for the top spot every single day. But he makes a conscious choice to be the foundation instead. Because he knows you can't build a pirate king without a solid floor to stand on. It takes a real man to step back and let someone else shine. To realize that the mission is bigger than your own ego. So why isn't Zoro the protagonist of One Piece? Because he actively chose not to be. He looked at Luffy. He saw something worth serving, and he decided that being the ultimate foundation was a better use of his life. He is a protagonist who realized his true calling was to carry another protagonist to the finish line. And at the end of the day, that's the real lesson here. True greatness isn't about standing in the brightest spotlight. It's about doing the heavy lifting in the dark so the lights never go out. If you made it this far, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep dissecting these anime mechanics and exposing exactly why these stories hook us so hard. Next video is going to completely change how you look at anime power systems. But before you go, I need you to think about this and let me know in the comments.